1-0, 1-0, becker.
I'm impressed by Christian Ruud, who I haven't seen play before today.
Iguales, 1-all.
I'm getting richer by the moment.
It was a bad shot, wasn't it?
Becker.
So Becker being given the free point by his opponent, who was just trying for too much on length.
Tres 1, 3-1, becker.
The only thing really that is going right in the latter part of the second set has been the serve.
Primer servicio, sure.
Well, it must be something of a nightmare, this, for Becker, because that forehand has been consistently bad from the very start of the match. Yes, he has hit a few blazing winners, but far more losers.
Silencio, por favor.
And now the break that he'd earned from an error from his opponent, he's cast away. And Ruud has forgotten to change ends. He'll discover soon enough. Just waiting for the towel. And really, this is a rather worrying performance. Nicky Pilic, who was out here yesterday, the rest of the Germans won't be very pleased. Nicky Pilic, the Davis Cup captain for Germany. Ruud, 2-4. So that couple of points has given Becker a chance now on his own serve to bring it level. Rather short of match play, Becker. As a matter of fact, this year entirely. But since Wimbledon, he's only played one match, lost in the first round at Stuttgart to Olivier Delettre. So for Becker, 4 set points.
6-2, 6-2 becker.
It's out. And to the delight of the hundreds of German supporters here, Boris Becker, through no fault of his own, draws level, 1 set all, after an hour and 51 minutes. 3-6, 7-6, and the tie-break, 7 points to 2.
So Becker back to 1 set all, but having a pretty tough time. We're now live into the 3rd set with Virginia Wade and John Barrett.
Well, Steve, really, this has been an extraordinary match, and still is an extraordinary match. Becker, in the 3rd set, looked as if he was in full command when he broke in the opening game, held serve, and then had 2 break points against Ruud to go 3-love up. But no, Ruud was allowed to hold. Then Becker lost his serve. Now it's 4 games all, 15 all, and Becker still looking rather shaky. Ruud is serving. And really, for a young man from Norway who has never even played in any of the mainstream men's tournaments, this is an extraordinary performance. And at the age of 19, something he will talk about for years to come. Win or lose. And if he serves more aces like that, he could even win. It's his 3rd ace.
40-15, 40-15.
Well, I think the serve to the backhand was probably unwise, because that wing has been much more trustworthy for Becker today. It's the forehand that's let him down badly. But this time he misses with the backhand, and Ruud is ahead in this 3rd set, 5-4. And Virginia Wade, really, this has been a most inept performance from Becker, who can't seem to get it right. But let's not forget how well Ruud has played.
I was just thinking exactly that, is that it's inevitable, and when Boris Becker is playing, that you concentrate more on him, because you feel that it's he who controls the fact whether he's winning or losing. But by the same token, I mean, Christian Ruud has played so well. He is definitely the superior player off the ground today. And although he maybe isn't generally winning his serve quite as comfortably as Boris is, he's coming up with a lot of good first serves. In the 1st set, this big flat serve he has was not connecting really, but he was still throwing in sort of short but high kicking 2nd serves. But he's been playing very intelligent tennis. He's taken every opportunity that he's had, and he's really performed with inspiration.
Of course, the other thing we must talk about is the heat here. It's about 104 degrees in the sun, and very sensibly the players are being shielded with umbrellas at each change of ends, the thing they do in Australia for the championships there in the heat of January. And it remains to be seen just how fit Becker is. He's very short of match play since Wimbledon, losing in the quarterfinals to Agassi. He's only played 1 match. He went to Stuttgart to get some practice on clay, lost to Olivier Delettre in the 1st round.
And there's, without any question, there's sort of a reluctance in Boris Becker to really make the physical effort to move his feet and to scamper around. And that really is what's necessary despite the heat. And you don't think as well in the heat either. Your head sort of fries on you.
Well, there's certainly been a lot of frying inside the Becker head today. He's 4-5 down, serving to try and keep his hopes alive in the third set. What Ruud should be doing here is to try and prolong the rallies and allow Becker to make the errors which he's been doing consistently throughout the match, except for that little moment at the start of this third set.
Great serve, just wonderful serve.
30-0, 30 love.
With his 9th ace. Well played.
Well, there's nothing wrong with the serve here, but the return comes back very quickly, and Boris really made a half-hearted, lazy attempt at that and then had to pay dearly for it.
Primer servicio.
Oh, goodness me. It is really hard to believe that a player of this ability and this experience can make such an elementary error at such a crucial moment. Can't be feeling very confident as he steps up to serve at 30 all. Ball thrown down from the stands by the spectator who gathered it after it had bounced up off the racket of Ruud. But it was a let anyway, so second serve. Giving you a very clear idea of just how Christian Ruud feels, knowing the importance of that point. Had he won it, of course, it would have been set point to him. A 10th ace.
Juego Becker, 5 iguales, 5 all.
And Becker, as so often in the course of his distinguished career, saved by the quality of his serve. 5 games all. We've been playing now for 2 hours and 39 minutes nearly. So it's becoming a matter of endurance in this torrid heat. It's sultry, humid. The spectators fanning themselves furiously.
La 15.
And the German fans here, the supporters of Becker, trying to get the German clap going that we hear so often in German tournaments and their Davis Cup ties, the rhythmical clapping. There hasn't been much to clap on Becker's account today. Virginia, that rather typical of what has been going on.
Well, you just can see it. He looks as if he's come in at exactly the right time, and then he sort of stumbled into the volley. But, you know, he hasn't come in enough during this match to really feel at home there. Every time he comes, he's in an unfamiliar territory, and that's why he's making errors, even though he's in position. Tension on both sides right now.
15-30. iguales, 30 all.
Those of you who watched our broadcast from Wimbledon last year will remember how Becker got himself into a real lather when he was losing to Stick, shrieking at himself. There's been a bit of that today.
Juego, ruud. Quien gana 6-5, 6-5.
Well, if Becker thought that was a fault, he's
40-30, 40-30.
he's entirely mistaken. It was a perfectly good serve. Wishful thinking.
I thought he was just, couldn't believe his luck that it hit the line again.
Here they go. It'll have an effect, this, on ruud.
Silencio, por favor.
Well, what an interesting turn this match has taken. Full of twists.
Juego, ruud. Quien gana 6-5, 6-5.
Full of unexpected twists. Becker really, at 15-30, had that game for the taking with an opponent who was clearly nervous, and yet he couldn't do it.
It's the same old story, isn't it? And every time he makes an error, it then sort of brings him down for the next couple of points that he plays. He starts getting edgy. But it looked as if Christian Ruud was the one who was going to get a little edgy, because, as you pointed out, John, when he thought he might have a chance of getting a set point there, he suddenly choked a little bit. He made an error, and he hasn't been making too many unforced errors. So it seemed to me that it was there for Boris to take the initiative, but he can't string it together yet.
I think Jan Tyriak, who's here in the crowd watching him, will be really rather depressed by the performance of his star client, who he's been working with since Boris was 17 years old. I remember watching him watch Becker's semi-final of the junior event at the French Championships that year against Mark Kratzmann. A wonderful battle, and he beat him, Becker, and then lost in the final. That was the semi-final, lost to the young Swede, whose name I can't remember for the moment, with a heavy topspin. Carlsen it was, yes. Kent Carlsen. But we knew then that Becker had a great future. Tyriak has developed it, turned him into a multi-millionaire in the process. But somewhere along the way, Becker has lost the real belief in himself on a clay court, particularly on a clay court, on any court, really. He's lost that real desire as well, and hasn't been practicing hard. He missed practice yesterday, didn't get the bus, and so thought, well, I won't practice. And has had all sorts of complications in his private life. We hear that he's parted company with Barbara Feltus. though she has denied that. It's now 5-6.
And it certainly looks as if he's brought every trouble in the world that he has onto court with him this morning, because he just is in two minds about just about every shot he hits.
Well, this is going to put Becker off. Oh, what a dreadful shot. It's hard to believe that you're looking at a man who has won Wimbledon 3 times. He's won the US Championships. He's won the Australian Championships, which made him the #1 player in the world. He's playing more like the 500th player in the world today. It's love 30. Well, here is a wonderful chance for this youngster from Norway. 3 set points for a 2-1 lead. Best of 5 sets in the Olympic Games, with a tie break in the first 4, if necessary, but not in the 5th. Oh, it's gone. So the drama is increasing here on the centre court in Barcelona. Boris Becker 2-1 down against an absolute beginner, Ruud of Norway, who is leading now 6-3, 6-7, 7-5. The match has been in progress 2 hours and 48 minutes.
Well, great variety in Barcelona today. 22 sports, 14 medals at stake, but it's that tennis.
There's a pause because they've thought it necessary to sprinkle the court with water. They dragged it first, of course, because it does dry out so very quickly in the temperature, which has now risen to 110 degrees in the sun, of course, and that is going to impose a great strain on the physique of both men. The umpire, Mr. Moreno, has to decide when the court is fit for the resumption of play, which I think he's now done. He's calling the players to order, asking them to resume the battle. And what a battle it's become. It's a mental battle now for Boris Becker. And indeed it is too for young Ruud, because if he were to get within sight of victory, then imagine the pressure on him, the strain of capturing such a tremendous scalp as Boris Becker in the opening round of the Olympic tournament, bringing us really, I think, Virginia, back to an awareness of the difference between tournament play and Olympic play.
Quite. I mean, everything is different about the Olympics, and Boris himself has never played in the Olympics, and so it's just a totally different story. But, you know, that little pause might have helped Boris get himself together. Or not. He seems so uncoordinated at the moment. It's totally as if his strokes do not belong to his body.
So his his 11th ace of the match. Only on serve has he looked anything like himself at times. It's just about held him together. He didn't really stand much chance of breaking Ruud in the opening game of this set. Ruud held to 30, serving his 4th ace in the course of winning that game. Love won then, and love 15.
And there's a little gust of wind that's come up that's behind Boris, so it's helping him, I think, be slightly more assertive with these forehands, and that was one of his most concentrated points.
The wind, as you look down the court from our main camera position, is from the bottom right corner to the top left. It's going across diagonally, the wind. Bottom right to top left. What breeze there is.
Please. Thank you.
Oh, the umpire Moreno asking the lineswoman to check the mark. That's been done several times today.
Thank you. Brilliant.
And saying that she was wrong to have called it out. It was in fact good.
30, 15, 30, 15.
No reaction from Ruud, who I think must have agreed that it probably did hit the line. So it's 30-15. Not a bad idea, because Becker's shown a reluctance to run today. Not ever at his best in very hot conditions, Becker.
Right. Cuarenta, 30, 40, 30.
It's a pitiful sight, this. It really is, to see such a great player, and he is a great player, Boris Becker, unable even to hit the simplest of shots in the court. It's going to be a huge test of his resolve, of his character, at a time in his career when he's achieved everything except a French title. He has money that will last him the rest of his life comfortably.
And Christian Ruud actually doing quite well. He's made so few mistakes here, but he is just pushed that little bit too far on the backhand side. Well, he's forcing his serve, that's why he's missing some.
That is the wing, which has been so pitifully weak today. I was saying earlier that if I could only have £1 for every forehand error he'd made today, I'd be buying quite a nice case of wine, I think, at the moment. Oh, that's clever if it's in. Yes, it is.
It's slightly a desperation shot by Boris to come into the net. He's unhappy with his serve. He doesn't know what to do. He comes in, but sort of jerkily makes himself get into the net and just doesn't have the energy to get back for that overhead.
Oh, he's lost his serve. And he lost it. You remember 40-15 he was. The forehand long, then the forehand out. Another advantage point. And yet he's still lost the serve. There seems to be a death wish about Becker today. It's quite extraordinary.
Tomen asiento en sus localidades, por favor.
Two
Los
love
jugadores están listos.
to
Sit
Ruud
quickly, please.
with a break. And now the test of this man's character. Can he believe enough and keep a steady enough nerve to convert this break of serve into victory? All he has to do now is hold serve.
But it's early in the set to have to hold that break.
Zero a 15, love 15. Zero a 30, love 30.
Well, now, here is the test. Two errors. Started playing when he was 9 years old, this young fellow. 10 years ago. And if he's thinking clearly down there, what he'll be doing is to direct most of the traffic on the important moments in the game to the Becker forehand, just as he did then.
And keep Becker moving around, because Becker didn't want to get to that ball, did he? He didn't want to make the effort.
No, he's missed. And I don't care how fit these two men are, both of them must be feeling extreme fatigue from the effects of this 110-degree sun after 3 hours and 6 minutes. I just hope that they've been taking their fluid at each change of ends. Well played.
Treinta, 30, 40.
Oh, well played.
Iguales, deuce.
His fifth ace today.
Primer servicio. Ventaja Becker.
When you see Becker constructing a perfectly normal rally like that and not making errors, you wonder why it is that he falls into so many unforced errors.
Exactly.
A third break point.
For Becker. Ruud gana 2-1, 2-1.
Signs there that Becker is beginning to get his mind back in the groove and that his opponent is really rather tired.
Well, I think inevitably both of the players are tired, but they have waves of fatigue in these conditions. You know, just because they're tired and are exhausted for a while doesn't mean that they're not going to get a second wind. They are, although you've suggested that Becker isn't as fit as he might be. They are very fit young men, and they've also, the ATP and the WTA have put out notices prior to playing this tournament that about the heat and what they should do to remind us really of how to cope with the heat, because these are really excessively difficult conditions, and we're noticing definite signs in Becker that he is trying to expend as little physical energy as he can, and that, I think, has really been the cause of all his problems right from the opening game. There's no shortcut ever in tennis, and you can't try to get there without making the necessary effort. But this was a well-played point from him, one of the best and most rhythmic of his playing today. And when he gets smoother with his shots, everything seems to work for him. But as I said, it was early in the set for Ruud to carry a break, and that might sound like a strange thing to say, but just as you said, he only has to hold his serve, but you've got a lot of service games to be thinking just that, and the mind plays tricks with that thinking.
So Becker is back on level terms as far as service breaks go, 1 apiece. He's 1-2 down and 2 sets to 1 down.
Quince 0, 15 love.
Becker's 12th ace.
Quince iguales, 15 all.
Great player that he is, Boris Becker. He's never yet won a tournament that matters on clay. I'm saying a tournament that matters because he hasn't as a professional in senior tennis. Well, we're always talking about the strength and depth of men's tennis. Today, it's number 5, Becker, against number 312, if you can believe that. Well, Becker should be prepared to chase those. It's a clear indication of the state of mind.
And that little shot got him into so much trouble in the beginning of the match when he just wasn't executing it correctly. But that wasn't a bad idea, considering that Ruud is also weary.
So here is another break point against Becker in a deep pit that he's dug for himself. There's another break. And as this match unfolds, I'm learning to appreciate just what a good player Ruud is. I hadn't seen him before today. Hardly surprising, since he hasn't played ever in any of the Grand Slam tournaments. This is his first major event. He's played a couple of challengers and won just one round. He's played Davis Cup for his country and taken as good a player as Veli Palaheimo of Finland to 5 sets. So we know he's a scrapper, and so does Becker. If you can keep your head when all about you are losing theirs and blaming it on you, well, that's what he's got to do now. Little bit of inexperience here. I think the forehand wing is where he should be directing 90% of the traffic. That's why.
15, 30, 15, 30.
Of course, there's a little siren voice inside saying, just let's relax for a minute, we're 3-1 up. Perhaps Boris will make some errors, but it doesn't work like that. So very relieved Boris Becker is allowed back into this set.
Ruud Ghana 3-2.
And I think it says something for the attitude and the physical condition or the physical state of both men that the last 4 serves have all gone against the serve. The last 4 games.
Well, I think that Boris is quite fortunate there that he had a few mistakes, because it's so psychological when your opponent makes some errors. You get stronger, and he's been the one who's been giving all the psychological impact to his opponent. And it sort of is, you know, you're sort of surprised when Ruud is making errors. You think, golly, he's hardly made any errors throughout this match, and all the errors have come from Boris. But Boris hanging in here, and every time he hangs in, it's Ruud who's feeling the conditions worse. That's one of the things that always happens. If it's very tough conditions, either extreme wind or extreme heat or whatever, it's the one who is in the trouble at the moment who considers the whole world is against him.
Well, we'll see if Becker can draw level in this set. He hasn't yet been. Ruud was 2-love, and then there have been 3 breaks of serve to leave Ruud ahead 3-2.
Love 15.
Yeah, that's the wing to come in on.
Love 30.
And Boris just can't afford to stay back and think that his opponent's going to crack, because there aren't any signs of it at the moment.
Love 40.
3 forehand errors at this game should be making an impression on the mind of Ruud.
Quince 40, 15, 40.
And as so often in previous matches, and indeed in this one,
30, 40, 30,
at
40.
crucial moments, the old faithful serve finding its mark. There it is again. Four forehand errors have cost Boris Becker his serve.
Que gana 4-2, 4-2.
And young Christian Ruud now within sight of what would be a quite sensational win against a man who I'm sure he's respected as a great champion, like all the young men of Europe have. Becker has done so much for European tennis. And this young Norwegian leading 2-1 and 4-2 as Becker starts to have a go at some people in the crowd who have been calling out. They've been very excitable here, the fans, and that hasn't helped Becker. Well, it's going to be so interesting to see how the noise of the crowd, and they will get very noisy if it gets to within sight of a Ruud victory. It'll be interesting to see how it affects both of them.
Still the same story, though. He'll play one good point, and then the next one is just all over the place.
And again, the noisy helicopter overhead. Taking his time, Ruud, very sensibly. It's almost a surprise when Becker hits a winner on the forehand.
But when he does, it looks so smooth, and you wonder where on earth it's been hiding.
$15.30. It is extraordinary, isn't it? No pressure on him at all, Becker, except with the scoreline, all of his own making. But no pressure at all on the actual shot that Ruud asked him to play. Feet covered in the red dust of this clay court. So a break point for Becker. And a forehand winner at last. New balls. The umpire hasn't given us the score yet, but it's 4-3 to Ruud. And this is how it happened.
And these are the forehands that he has been having success with, when he really has to move his feet around and out of the way of his body, and he hits the inside-out forehand. And those have been about the only place where he's having any joy with that forehand of his, including, you know, which when you observe, you wonder why he does it, or why anybody does it, but you know how easily you do it on the court, is that he's showing everybody that he's having trouble with his forehand. When he's waiting to return serve, he's sort of shaking his hand a little bit and miming the shot, but he's also showing his opponent. And it's a very strange, I mean, it's very dramatic, this match right now, because it's fluctuating, the problems are fluctuating between one player and the other.
Of course, I can't really think that it did Becker any good to part company with Thomas Schmid, which he did in the week before Wimbledon last year, or 2 weeks before Wimbledon, when Schmid wanted him to go and get extra grass court play in Manchester, take a wild card there, and he turned it down. And he's been fending for himself ever since, though Niki Pilic, his Davis Cup captain, the former Yugoslav Davis Cup player, who now is the captain of the German team, he's here with him.